Thousands of years ago, we were not 8 billion. We were almost gone. A single disaster, a volcanic, not a myth, not a legend, but something written in our DNA, in our soil, and frozen deep inside the ice of Antarctica. And the real question is, how close are we to facing something like that again? Let's go back 70,000 years, to the night humanity almost vanished. Let's go back in time, about 300,000 years ago. This Earth was not ours alone. There were many kinds of humans. In Africa lived Homo sapiens, our ancestors. At that time, our population was tiny. Scientists estimate only 100,000 to 200,000 of us existed. Small bands, 20 to 30 people, living near rivers, forests, plains, like one extended family. In Europe lived the Neanderthals, strong, broad-shouldered, built for the cold. And they cared for one another. When one of them was injured, the others did not leave them behind. There was humanity in them too. High in the mountains of Asia lived the Denisovans, quiet, resilient, their lungs shaped by the thin air. And today, a part of them still lives in our DNA. On a small island in Indonesia lived Homo floresiensis, tiny in height, sharp in mind. They kept their own fire alive in their own way. But then, history changed. There came a moment when all of humanity nearly disappeared. A time when our entire species was reduced to around 1,000 individuals. Yes, just 1,000. And today, we are more than 8 billion. Which means, every single one of us is a descendant of those few hundred survivors. So the question is, what happened? What event was so powerful that humanity almost vanished? And how do we know only about 1,000 of us survived? Let's go back to the edge of our story, the moment when humanity nearly ended. The story changes here. About 74,000 years ago, in Southeast Asia, in what is now Indonesia, there stood a mountain, Mount Toba. Wasn't just a mountain, it was alive. Beneath it, deep under rock and earth, a sea of molten fire had been building pressure for thousands of years. And then one day, Earth exhaled. Toba erupted. Not a normal eruption, but one of the largest volcanic explosions in the history of our planet. If the Hiroshima nuclear blast was a spark, Toba was a second sun igniting. The explosion was so powerful that ash rose high into the atmosphere, blocking sunlight across continents. The sky turned dark. Temperatures dropped 10 to 15 degrees Celsius in just a short time. Daylight faded into dusk. Dusk fell into night. A night that lasted years. Scientists call this volcanic winter. And during this long winter, plants died first, then the animals, then the hunters who depended on them. Food disappeared. Tribes began to scatter. Some starved. Some froze, some simply vanished from history. But a small chance of survival remained. The ocean. Because even when forests fall silent, the sea still breathes. Fish, shellfish, slow, steady food. So the only humans who survived were those living near the coast, where life never fully stopped. Scientists call these places coastal refuges, the final safe havens. And it was here, on the edges of the ocean, that around only 1,000 humans survived. Just 1,000 hearts beating against the dark, and from them, every one of us alive today was born. But the real question is, how do we even know this happened? There were no books, no written history, no one to tell the story. And yet, the Earth remembers, not in words, but in layers of DNA, in ash buried under soil, in ice deep beneath Antarctica, and in the ocean's sediment. Today, whether someone lives in New York or in a quiet village thousands of miles away, whether their skin is dark or pale, whether they speak English, Hindi, Swahili, or Japanese, our DNA tells the same story. In 2008, scientists at Stanford University and later University of Kansas compared the genomes of people across the world. And what they found was shocking. We are all more similar than different. Our DNA traces back to a very small group of ancestors. If early humans had always been millions in number, our DNA would be full of variations. But it isn't. The pattern in our genes is the pattern of a bottleneck, a time when humanity shrank to just a few hundred survivors, and the Earth itself remembers that moment. In India, layers of soil in Jwalapuram still hold a thin sheet of ash, the same ash blown from the Toba supervolcano in Indonesia. And deep in the ice of Antarctica, scientists found frozen air from 70,000 years ago, air that tells us sunlight had weakened, temperatures had fallen, the world was cold. A cold so long, so silent, that nearly every human line disappeared. In the end, only about 1,000 Homo sapiens survived. Just 1,000. Here, the story takes a turn. We know that the Toba eruption was not a small event. The sky went dark, the earth cooled, and food chains collapsed. But then comes the big question. If most early humans lived in Africa, how did a volcano in Indonesia nearly wipe them out? This is where scientists begin to disagree. Theory 1. Humanity almost collapsed. According to this view, the ash from Toba didn't stay local. It traveled with monsoon winds all the way to Africa. Sunlight weakened, temperatures fell, rainfall stopped. When the rain stops, rivers shrink, plants die, animals disappear, and hunger doesn't kill at once. It breaks societies slowly. This explains why, in our DNA, there is very little diversity. Like humanity once shrank down to just a few hundred survivors. Another group of scientists says, the story is not that simple. Their evidence comes from Lake Malawi in East Africa. When they read the layers of mud at the bottom of the lake, a timeline of Earth, they found, yes, the climate changed, but Africa did not freeze, and life did not stop. And then there is Blombos Cave in South Africa. At the very same time, people there were making shell jewelry, mixing pigments, and creating art. And art only appears when humans are not just surviving, but feeling, imagining, thinking. So the question becomes, can a species creating beauty be on the edge of extinction at the same moment? That's where the mystery begins. Whatever the truth is, the Toba eruption showed us one thing clearly. Humans are not invincible. Our entire species can be erased in a single moment. Now imagine, if something like that happened today. There are over 20 supervolcanoes on Earth right now, and one of the most dangerous is the Yellowstone supervolcano in the United States. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, if Yellowstone erupts, ash could blanket all of North America, global temperatures could fall by 5 to 10 degrees Celsius, and crops could fail for years. The same pattern we believe happened 70,000 years ago. 66 million years ago, the most powerful animals on Earth, dinosaurs, vanished because of a single asteroid. And NASA's Near-Earth Objects program warns, every 100 to 200 years, a potentially destructive asteroid passes very close to Earth. In 2019, an asteroid named 2019 OK passed just 73,000 kilometers from Earth, closer than the Moon. And then there is us. We have created the most destructive power known, nuclear weapons. There are over 13,000 nuclear warheads on this planet, enough to destroy the Earth many times over. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were just a warning. And now comes AI. AI is no longer just following orders. It is learning, understanding, thinking. When AlphaFold solved protein structures 10 times faster than human scientists for the first time, knowledge shifted away from us. If intelligence becomes something beyond human, then humanity may no longer be the smartest species on Earth. And history shows the species that thinks faster wins. So now the question is, do we move forward from here, or is this where our story ends? Will humans go extinct, or will we become a species that lives on more than one planet? Tell me what you think in the comments below.